Good morning, everybody. I want to do this video as best as I can. I'm not going to give you the usual formalities that I start my videos off with. I heard about the tragic situation that happened in Minnesota where a rogue ICE agent opened fire on a 37-year-old woman just sitting in her car. She was being very cordial with this piece of crap, saying, I'm not mad. It's okay. And she went to drive away from this asshole. He went around the front of her car, and you could see on the video that she was turning her wheel away from this officer. And yet, this piece of shit claimed that he was in danger, but he filmed the entire altercation on a cellular phone. And during this altercation, he's standing out there on a snow and ice-covered street, and he drops the phone, and you hear gunshots. And you hear the car rolling away, and you hear him mutter, "Stupid bitch," as the car crashes down the street a second or two after that. And people in the Republican Party are just so disgusting. One man, that is an African American, by the way, said, while she died, it's tragic, but they say if law enforcement gives you an order, you damn well better follow it. Which, in my mind, says, if they ask you to get out of your car and perform, say, oral sex on a law enforcement official, and you don't do it, they could kill you outright. And just because this woman, who is 37 years old, has 3 children, and was doing everything she could to preserve what democracy is, giving the people the right for transparency and due process. That's what her activism was about. This officer decided to be an asshole and put 3 slugs into her, causing her car to roll. And after he shot her, he said, "Stupid bitch," and the woman's car crashed into another vehicle, leaving her car stained with blood on her seat and definitely on the airbag. And the saddest thing is, there was a doctor that just happened to be on the street who wanted to step in and try to save this lady's life. But his ICE agent bitch buddies prevented that poor doctor from trying to do what he could to save this lady's life. They made the assumption, or they made the comment, "Oh, we understand, but you can't go near that man to help her." And I hope that guy that tried to help this lady doesn't feel that he failed his Hippocratic oath. You didn't, sir. You were doing everything you could to try and help this lady, who did nothing wrong, by the way. I saw many videos of this. The cop filmed this interaction on a fucking cell phone, like I'm doing my video to you now. And he went around the front of that car, and as she went to drive away, he put 3 slugs into her, without regard, without any consequence. She could have had kids in her car, and he would have shot her anyway. And just because he had a mask on to guard his identity, people found his ass out. Internet sleuths are smart. They know where to go. They know where to find this guy. And let me tell you something. His neighbors know who he is. His friends know who he is. And, if he does something wrong, those people are going to call his ass out on it. And we must not let him ever forget what he did to that woman. And he should be persecuted to the full extent of law. preferably the rest of his life in prison. Because now there are 3 children without a mother, a life partner without her love, and an ex-husband that has to grapple with the fact that when the kids are older, he'll have to tell them, Mommy didn't come home anymore because of a rogue ICE officer that killed your mom. All because she wanted to drive away in her van. She did nothing to this asshole. She was very calm, cool, collected, and even had a smile on her face, being cheerful, warm, engaging. But this officer didn't want that. He wanted to cause her pain. He caused her pain, all right. He took her life, and he caused pain to those little kids that are going to have to grow up without their mother. You know, and there are protests nationwide across this country because of that. And people like Jasmine Crockett have called out the Republican Party for their coldness toward this lady's death. They demanded respect when Charlie Kirk died. And you know what? I gave him that. I gave him that. Many other people gave him that. But they couldn't show the same type of grace to this woman that was tragically mowed down by a rogue asshole. And my heart hurts for her children because they have the worst in this situation. You know, she won't be there to see them graduate, won't see them go to college, maybe have kids of their own, and maybe plot a course in whatever job they choose, or even be a grandmother to their kids. You know, that officer said, if you don't follow what I tell you, I have every right to kill you. That is what I get out of it. But the video speaks volumes. He shot that video as sort of a trophy. He's like, I'm going to make an example of this bitch. He made an example of her, all right. She became a martyr for Donald Trump's racism, bigotry, and misogyny, all that shit. And where is Donald Trump today? Down in Mar-a-Lago, probably having a party, probably pissing himself on the golf course. People are saying, oh, he went to hide in his bunker. You're responsible for this, Donald Trump. And I'm not going to leave you out of this video, you motherfucker. You celebrated this woman's death. You and J.D. Vance celebrated this woman's death. How fucking dare you? You demanded respect for Charlie Kirk. All of us gave that respect to Charlie Kirk. And those who didn't, they're the ones that are going to have to pay for it. But you didn't show respect to this woman who died needlessly. She did nothing to this officer. And you know what? You can go fuck yourself. There's going to be a special place in hell for you, and there's going to be a special place in hell for that ICE agent. And people are calling for ICE to be defunded and disbanded. And members of Congress are mostly responsible for this as well, because they allowed this shit show to go on for over a year in his second term. In fact, his reign of stupidity should have ended in his first term. You know, Trump and his so-called FBI, they need to be removed, they need to be punished. And this ICE agent will never let you forget what you did. You know, you were drunk on power. That's what I say. You were drunk on power. So much so that you didn't care whether you shot and killed a 37-year-old woman trying to fight for our democracy and our right to due process and transparency. Not just in everyday life, but in media. And we have the right to have medical care that we can afford, lower grocery prices, and you are following the words of a demagogue that doesn't care about the human condition. All he cares about is having a golden toilet in places like the Kennedy Center, Trump Tower, or any other building that he wants to get his mitts on. Now he wants to attack other countries. Over what? In places like Greenland, they're going to fight back. Places like Canada are going to fight back. And I know places like Mexico and New Mexico are going to fight back. And people all over this country are angry as hell. We're tired of the fucking puppet show and shit show that's going on. J.D. Vance needs to own up to his actions. And that one moron, the one black gentleman that is a Republican, that say, well, her death is sad. He's basically saying she did it to herself. What, for saying that she wasn't mad and that it was okay? They tried to muddy her up, but we all know that that cop was not in danger. That poor woman died needlessly at the hands of an idiot who follows the warped derangement syndrome that is Trump. And Donald Trump, you need to go to hell. You need to die, motherfucker. And from what I've seen of you, your health is failing fast. And I'm done. I'm so done with Trump and his regime and his bastard today, being a bastard to our Constitution. He's spitting on the Constitution. He wants to take away Obamacare. He wants to get rid of Planned Parenthood. It's not just a abortion clinic. It is a affordable care doctor's office. I even learned about that in the last year of elementary school. They taught us all about the birds and the bees and what life brings. But there are places you can go to get the treatment that you need when you can't afford to go to a regular doctor's office. But Donald Trump, you're a monster. J.D. Vance, you're a monster. You all need to be locked up. And that ICE agent needs to be held to account. And fuck you if you don't persecute this asshole. Fuck you if you don't persecute this ICE agent that went rogue. Just like the one drunk ICE agent that had kids in his truck while he was driving drunk. And he threatened a police officer for just doing his job, getting a drunk idiot off the road, and possibly saving the ICE agent's kids' lives in the process. He wanted to go into the personnel file of this officer to hopefully find out if he was illegal. But you know what? That seersucker is just sad that a cop stood up to an ICE agent and held him to account for being a drunk idiot on the road. Just like I want to see this ICE agent that killed a mother that did nothing to him, wasn't anywhere near him when he opened fire on her, putting bullets in her brain. She's dead. 3 kids are without their mother. And whoever she was living with now won't have her partner to be with for the rest of her life. And an ex-husband has to deal with the fact that you won't be seeing Mama on your birthday or Christmases anymore because an ICE agent killed her needlessly. And shame on those who are celebrating this woman's death. I'm sad for her. I'm sad for her kids. I'm sad for this fucking country. Because now I see, if I'm stopped and I'm told to do something that I know is against policies for our country, if they want me to perform oral sex on a cop, they would say, I have every right to kill you if you don't. That is the feeling that I get, and I'm not the only one who feels this way. And I invite people like Midas Touch to share parts of this video. I'm mad as hell. And to members of the government, if you don't rein in these rogue ICE agents, you're going to end up losing your job. I'll make sure of that, and others like me will make sure of that. You will lose your job. That includes Jasmine Crockett. That includes Bernie Sanders. That includes all y'all on that fiery hell of the Hill. You allowed him to tear down the White House East Wing. And you allowed him to put his name on the Kennedy Center. And yet, you want to impeach Miss Nome? Why don't you impeach Donald Trump for his reckless handling of our affairs in this country? And he celebrated the death of a woman. An everyday American trying to fight for our transparency and our rights for health care. You know, and most of all, she was fighting for due process, which you're trying to strip away from us. So, fuck you, Donald Trump. This is on you, too. And any Republican that celebrates this woman's death and say, oh, she brought it on herself and that she deserved it, you can go fuck yourself, too. I'm done. So, Donald Trump, you are solely responsible for this. You opened this Pandora's box. Your ICE agents and your FBI have to go. I am so done with you and your bullshit, and I'll make sure you get out of office in 2026. I'm done, dude. I'm absolutely done. Hopefully you'll be out before 2028, I think. I've been so busy lately, I don't even know what day it is some days. But to the kids of this woman, I'm sorry. I'm sorry that you have to go on without your mother. She was doing what she thought was right to preserve what's left of our democracy. But Donald Trump and the ICE agent sycophants don't want that. And to the government, if you keep sitting on your ass and doing nothing, this shit is just going to keep happening. And to the ICE agent that you were found out, good. I'm glad you were fucking found out. Because they're not going to let you forget. What you've done will live on the internet forever. Maybe not on YouTube, but on places like Twitter, X, Twitch, wherever they allow this type of content. It will live forever. Just because it's deleted off one platform doesn't mean it's not going to show up on another platform. It might even show up in Internet Archive. So, Mr. ICE agent, your butt's going to have to pay for that woman's death. She did nothing to you. You were not even in danger. She turned away from you as she went to drive away, and yet you plugged her for it. You can go fuck yourself. As far as I'm concerned, when you die, I'm sure a lot of people are going to be happy. You showed the same callousness towards her. I'm going to show the same callousness towards you and Donald Trump and J.D. Vance. Well, I'm going to get off, ladies and gentlemen. You'll probably see a video from me out at my sister's house, but I'll do those videos while my brother-in-law is at work. He doesn't like my political views, but I'm still going to continue doing the job. And I will be watching videos on YouTube on my phone, so yeah. I'll try and be on here more in the loop. But please send out condolences, and if they have a donation thing for the family, look for reputable donations to the family. If you can help them, please do so. I would do so myself, but I'm kind of short on funds right now. So, yeah. All I can say is, things have got to change. Things have got to change, man. We're slowly losing our country to a demigod. And law enforcement needs to be held to account for what they do, especially people in the ICE agent community and the police force and military. You know, this ICE agent fucked around and found out. No matter if he had a mask over his face, he was still identified, and he should be prosecuted to the full extent of the law, preferably the rest of his life in prison. That woman did nothing wrong, and she died for trying to drive away. And after he shot her, he called her a stupid bitch. Never let him forget that. I'm out, ladies and gentlemen. Have a good day, and I'll talk at you later.